Set that up. All right. Welcome everyone. My name is Eileen Schumann, and I am a staff person with the Presbyterian Hunger Program. Welcome to Solidarity Hour. So, these gatherings are meant to be a space where we can pause together, listen, and deepen our understanding of the histories and realities that are shaping our world. So, in our last gathering, we explored the doctrine of discovery, which is really something we're going to be exploring at all times, but we kind of did a refresher on doctrine of discovery. And we had a conversation that centered around Bad Bunny's halftime performance at the Super Bowl. And we touched a little bit on Puerto Rico and questions of colonialism and culture, but it became clear to many of us and was pointed out by a colleague that it really would have been important to have that conversation coupled with a deeper dive on historical and cultural context of Puerto Rico. And clearly, we needed Puerto Rican voices and experiences in the space to have that kind of conversation. So we're hoping to dive a little bit deeper today, and I'm grateful to have that we're going to be joined by our my colleague Edwin Gonzalez-Castillo, who is the manager for Presbyterian Disaster Assistance. And he's going to help us get a better understanding about Puerto Rico's history, its present day realities, and experiences of Puerto Rican communities today. So, our hope is to listen, learn, and reflect on how people in the mainline United States, and particularly the church, can engage with greater humility, understanding, and solidarity. Also want to go ahead and do a land acknowledgement. So I'm going to put in the chat. You're welcome to uh, plug into the chat your own land acknowledgement, where you're coming from today, the traditional lands. Oh, whoops, put that in the wrong. Let me try again. Um, the traditional lands that you are joining us from today. So I'm joining from Louisville, Kentucky, and I acknowledge that Louisville stands on the ancestral lands of the Osage, Shawnee, Chickasaw, and Cherokee peoples, among others, who have long cared for this land along the Ohio River. I honor Indigenous peoples past and present and future and commit myself to ongoing learning, accountability, and right relationship. So we begin by acknowledging that we gather on land shaped by Indigenous displacement and survival. The doctrine of discovery provides theological justification for conquest, extraction, and exclusion, and its legacy still structures many of the systems we live within. So, the Global Solidarity Collective, which this Solidarity Hour falls within that collective, reminds us that colonization was not just an event, but a worldview. It's one that continues to influence economic systems, legal frameworks, and social hierarchies today. So today is a part of us continuing to ask the question of how that worldview still shows up, often in subtle, normalized ways. So now I'd like to move us into prayer, and I would like to ask for some volunteers, if possible, to read. We'll go slide by slide. So if I could get maybe three volunteers to read parts of the prayer, if folks could Maybe Valerie, I'm gonna volunteer you for slide number one. If I could get two more volunteers, if you could raise your virtual hands. If anybody's raising a physical hand, I may not see you, so.
Wendy is raising her hand.
Wendy, okay, Wendy, if you could do slide two, and is there a third one? I might have to volunteer someone else. Uh, okay, let me see if I can see who all is there. Brian Smith, would you be willing to read slide three?
Will it come up on the screen? Yes.
Yeah, when it
Yep.
comes up on the screen. Okay, great, thanks. Okay, so I'm going to put it into slideshow mode and um, hold on, let me uh, just give me 1 second. Okay,
I'll just add really quickly that I'll come off video because I think I have to put the phone closer to my face.
that's fine. So, Valerie, if you want to start us off, and
All
this
right.
this prayer is from Presbyterian Disaster Assistance, and it's on their Facebook page if anyone would like to find this.
All right. Let's pray. Prayers for peace in the midst of war in Iran and the Middle East. God of our weary years and our silent tears, as bombs fall across Iran and throughout the Middle East, and nations continue their reliance on the use of force and abuse of power, asserting visions of world order over other lands and peoples. The clouds of war are deepening the darkness of these Lenten days, and we are shamed by our casual tolerance and indifference to the cultures of violence that binds us. We are horrified, angry, despairing. We struggle with a yearning for justice and judgment, a knowledge that our prayers alone are not enough, an importance that we cannot find a way forward that will help an emptiness. We have been here before too many times, and we know we'll walk this bloody path again.
We are failing one another, and we are failing you, our Maker, our mercy, our justice, our peace. We pray for our neighbors and communities across the Middle East, and for our whole broken and heartbroken nation. In this hard season of violence, death, and distrust, each one lost is a child made in your image. Each survivor is beloved to you. Each afflicted community is part of your commonwealth. We lift our prayers for each life lost, each family bereaved, each neighborhood and nation whose fabric of life is rent asunder by acts of aggression and retaliation. This cycle of violence and seems to be spiraling out of control. We pray for ourselves that we may find a will to work for peace that exceeds our sense of powerlessness.
A shared commitment to end our resilience on violent intervention, the courage to face our complicity with powers and principalities that privilege one nation, security and dominance over the well-being of the world and its diverse peoples. Restore our hope, our heart, our courage, our sense of possibility, of holiness and wholeness in your creation. May the waters of our tears nourish the river that flows through the city of God and the tree of life that is for healing of the nations. In the name of Yeshua we pray. Amen.
Thanks. Um, yeah, we're living in clearly very challenging, difficult times. Um, and, there's a lot of work to be done to be in solidarity with peoples all over the world. Um, and we have a lot of work to do in this country to shift our policies. Um, so, I would like to, at this point, get into our conversation with our guest, um, Edwin. Um, Edwin, thank you so much for being willing to be here with us today. Um, and first, I guess, we'll just have you maybe introduce yourself a little bit, and then we can jump into our first question. So, well, let me let you introduce yourself first.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you for the opportunity to be with all of you and participate in this conversation and get to engage in this talk about a dear place for me, Puerto Rico. I wish I was there, but sadly I'm not. I'm in Louisville, Kentucky right now, but I am from Puerto Rico and lived there most of my life, except a few years that I lived in the United States in Rhode Island, and then now here in Louisville since 2018. I was born in Puerto Rico in San Juan in a community called Santurce. That's a part of San Juan, Puerto Rico. It's like a borough, small area of Puerto Rico, where many famous baseball players come from, and salsa singers also. And I'm the son of a Puerto Rican and a Dominican. My mom is from Dominican Republic, and my father is from Puerto Rico. And yeah, grateful to be here and be able to share a lot about the work of PDA in Puerto Rico, what is happening in the island, and everything that has happened in our beautiful archipelago.
Mhm. Thanks. Well, for those of us that are living in the mainland U.S., who may not know that much about Puerto Rico, what are some key things that we should understand about its history and current reality?
There's so much story from Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico is the amount of story that there's about the island is outstanding. Even though it's a small island that you can drive from the west to the east in less than 3 hours. It's around 100 miles from north to east, and 35 from east to west, and from north to south is around 35 miles long. So it's not that big, but Puerto Rico is also has other islands because it's an archipelago. It's not just one island. It's multiple islands that conform the territory of Puerto Rico, and that includes two habitat islands that are Vieques and Culebras, and then a lot of other more smaller islands that are not there's no living people there, but there's a lot of life and projects and animals and other things, and are part of also of Puerto Rico. So we're not necessarily considered an island. We're considered archipelago, a number of islands together. Puerto Rico is one of the oldest continuously inhabited European founded cities. Just so you have an idea, San Juan, Puerto Rico, was founded in 1521. That means that we were a century before Jamestown was founded. So that's how old the island of Puerto Rico, and not to talk about, of course, the indigenous people in Puerto Rico, the Arhuacos and the Taínos, who habitated the island even before the Europeans came to the island. And it was one of the most fortified cities in the Americas because it was considered the entrance. It was the door to the Caribbean and to all the Caribbean trade routes that was happening. And we, in addition to Spain, other countries tried to conquer, and we had many battles with other invaders and foreign invaders, like the British and the Dutch tried to come to Puerto Rico because it was a treasure. It was a place that gave access to other places. And in 1898, as we call it botín de guerra, it was we were acquired by the United States as a result of the Spanish American War. Of course, there was no consultation with the people from Puerto Rico about the sovereignty of Puerto Rico. It was a decision that was made between Spain and the United States, and we changed from being a colony of Spain to become a colony of the United States. And since then, the participation of Puerto Rico in regarding the United States has been vastly in many ways, including, and now that we just had a prayer about what is happening in Iran. Puerto Ricans have served in the United States military in every major conflict since World War One. Even though we are not able to vote for the president of the United States while we're in Puerto Rico, we do. Many Puerto Ricans have served in the U.S. Army. It is a U.S. territory. We are a commonwealth. The official status in Puerto Rico is Estado Libre Asociado, which translates literally to state free and associated. So we are a state that is free and associated. How do you explain that? How do you make that work? We don't know. But that's the status that we have right now. So we're not a state, but we are a territory of the United States. Of course, this all comes after 1946 when the UN decided that there could not be any more colonies in the world. And so the United States indicated, okay, we don't have colonies. Now we have territories. So they changed the name, but most of the other things stay the same. So we have uh, tax without representation. We don't have a person in the Congress that gets to vote and represents Puerto Rico as other states do. We have a commissioner resident who gets to speak and in some occasions, but do not have any power the same as other people. And like I mentioned before, we don't get to vote for the president of the United States while we are in Puerto Rico. Like now that I moved to Louisville, Kentucky, in 2000, I think 20 was my first time to vote in a presidential election. But if you move as a U.S. Uh, um, uh, if you move to Puerto Rico, you cannot vote for the president from there. The funny thing or the irony is that we can vote in the primaries. So we get like a, oh, here you go, consolidation prize. You get to vote in the primaries, but not in the actual presidential election. So those are some of the facts from Puerto Rico. It's a small island with so much history, not only political history, but also artistic history. You mentioned Bad Bunny, but the amount of people that have come from Puerto Rico that have made, uh, represented the island and made history, not only in the music. You talk about Ricky Martin, for example, who was also in the show, but other many amazing uh, Miranda with the Hamilton from Puerto Rico, other and many other people, not only in the sense of artistic, but also writers, actors. Raúl Juliá, the second winner of an Oscar, who you might remember him from the Addams Family and from playing Rodolfo in the movie about I forgot the priest from El Salvador. Oh my God, Adolfo Romero, when he played Romero, and many other people. There's a famous Puerto Rican actually that we call El Boricuazo. the term that we use, the gentilicious for people from Puerto Rico, we call ourselves Boricua because our Taino name, our original name was Boriquen. And so the people from Puerto Rico, you will hear that we call ourselves Boricua. I'm Boricua. Of course, to people from the U.S., we say I'm Puerto Rican because it will be confusing. But between us, when you see a Puerto Rican and you see another one, you will say, "Oh, I'm Boricua too." Uh, and this guy is called a Boricuazo, and is like a historian from Puerto Rico. He's uncovering so much history. And one of the things that is amazing about him is telling the impact that Puerto Ricans have had all around the world, and in science, in medicine, in history, in politics, in music. The first opera uh, long play disc was recorded with a singer from Puerto Rico. So those histories, those information is so amazing about, and again, a small island in the Caribbean, which just had a big impact all over the world. And I think I
But
went over, but I'm Puerto
no,
Rican. I
no,
talk a
but
lot, so.
well, I already learned something because I didn't know that you all are able to vote in the primaries. I had no idea. I just assumed that you weren't able to vote at all in the presidential election. So, I mean, you've already touched on it somewhat, but um, how does the political status of Puerto Rico like affect everyday lives? Like as far as being um, a territory, not being able to vote for the president, and other things that come with that.
Well, I think the first is tax without representation is one of those. Not being able to have representation in Congress affects us because we don't have someone who can not only speak but also fight on our behalf and be able to vote on our behalf and present legislation in behalf of Puerto Rico. So that hurts us really bad because we only have a person who has some voice, but not that much. And second, one of the biggest things that a lot of people do not know, the average product in Puerto Rico or anything that you buy in Puerto Rico, it's uh, probably comes from the United States. It might come from another country. It might come from Dominican Republic, but it has to come in a ship from the United States, and that's thanks to a Jones Act from 1920. So 106 years ago, an act was created that indicated that Puerto Rico, everything shipped to Puerto Rico has to come through a U.S. port and has to be in a travel on a U.S. built and U.S. owned and U.S. crewed ship and U.S. flag, of course. And so around 85 to 90% of everything that is in Puerto Rico that we have in Puerto Rico comes from the United States. And that comes with increasing price. So things will cost sometimes 20 to 30% more be bought in Puerto Rico. To give you an example, when we moved to Louisville, we brought our car. And thankfully it was because we had our car through a bank here in the United States. That was the only way that we could do it. And when we came to Louisville and I went to take it to register and all of that, they asked me to show them that I had paid taxes on that vehicle in Puerto Rico. And when I showed them the taxes, they said, no, not the cost of the car, the tax on the car. And I'm like, this is the tax of the car that I paid in Puerto Rico. And they were surprised. They were like, no, that cannot be. And I'm like, yes, that's the tax that we pay in Puerto Rico for a vehicle. And they couldn't believe it. They thought I was giving the price of the car. So that's how high things are in Puerto Rico sometimes. And of course, things by the time they get to Puerto Rico, most of them they don't last that much. Talking about many goods, many fruits, and many other things that come from the island because what the time it takes. Add to that, for example, also the situation of a disaster. Let's talk Maria, for example. The wait time that we have to have before things arrive in the island from the United States, because even in moments of disaster, sometimes we need a special permission from the United States in order to receive goods from other countries, and that can take weeks. And by the time that even happens, you have people in Puerto Rico waiting for weeks or months before things from the United States arrive. And then the whole situation with the ports. And connected to that, let's say the disaster didn't happen in Puerto Rico, but it happened in one of the ports or one of the states where the ports are and the ships are in the United States, and it's affected and it gets hit by the hurricane. Then we are suffering because there's no food coming to Puerto Rico while that port is being fixed, or if the ship uh, gets damaged or whatever happens, we get affected by that for the term that it takes to fix it or to be able to receive back the goods. So there's many ways that the situation affects. Add to that also, since 2016, Puerto Rico has what is considered a U.S. government imposed Puerto Rico Oversight, Management, and Economic Stability Act, which is called PROMESA, which is a wrong name to it because it's PROMESA means, of course, promise. So the PROMESA is a fiscal oversight board that was decided, approved, and elected by the United States and can override local decisions about budgets and public spending in Puerto Rico. So we don't only have a president, we also have internally in Puerto Rico a group of people whose interest is to benefit people who we owe money, debtors that we owe money, and who's, of course, they're more interested in getting paid than helping the people in Puerto Rico. And they are the ones who make the decisions about our budget and how the public funding is spent in the island. Not to talk about many other situations. One of the first governors, public governors in Puerto Rico, only was there for 1 year, and he was appointed by the United States. He was from the United States, and he spent that year, that whole year in Puerto Rico, changing some laws and making connections and putting people in place. And then he resigned and he and created a company in the United States that you might know about. It's called Domino Sugar, and they own most of the land in Puerto Rico when he stopped being the governor, and owned the sugar companies and changed a lot of the laws in benefit of himself and his people. And that affected the whole industry in Puerto Rico because we moved from our having our own crops and having what we decided that we needed to now having to change everything to sugar plantations, which was a mess and it was a big issue. We recently, just to give you an interesting fact that I even didn't know, we went with a crew from PDA, from our story ministry, counter story ministry, to Salinas, Puerto Rico, where we used to have a big sugar plantation there. And we learned that we drove in front of a big building that looked like an old hotel, and we learned that that was a hotel for white people, from American people, and people from Puerto Rico couldn't go inside that hotel. And they actually had in that plantation, they will close the doors at 7 p.m. and no one from the island could go inside the island. So those are some of the things. There's a lot of other things that I can share about the political situation with Puerto Rico and how we had been uh, taken advantage in many ways. There's a phrase that Puerto Ricans use that it says that we get to eat from the wing, but the United States eats from our breast in the chicken breast. Like we give more meat than the one that we receive back.
Yeah, yeah, it's a lot when you hear about yeah, the impacts of the Jones Act clearly affecting your abilities to be able to respond quickly to disasters, but also be able to feed the island in an economical way. Also, like all the cost of goods. That's it's pretty intense taking all those factors into account. So, for you, what would meaningful solidarity look like with Puerto Rican communities? What would that look like for churches and people to be in meaningful solidarity with Puerto Rico and Puerto Ricans?
Thank you for that question. I think that that is a really good, important question in this. Uh, we actually in Presbyterian Disaster Assistance, we put together we started receiving, of course, a lot of volunteers and people get, interested and excited and really want to help the people in Puerto Rico. So a lot of people or groups wanted to come to Puerto Rico and understanding the diversity and the difficulty of not only the language but also the culture, we put together a training on decolonizing volunteerism or healthy volunteerism, understanding the impact that a group of people when they come from another country, and that can happen anywhere. And come to a different place where the language is different, the culture is different. A lot of the things that people are used to in the mainland are different when you go to this country and your expectations that you have. And one of the things that we talk about is uh, the type of relationship. I think everything comes down to the relationship that we have, and that meaningful solidarity has to be less about charity and more about relationship and partnerships. And this is not only in Puerto Rico. I think it's the same with Cuba and with any other country where, and even next door with a soup kitchen or with a community, a group next door. It's building long-term partnerships that reflects a mutual engagement, a mutual learning, a mutual participation in the conversation, a collaboration more than just, oh, we're here to help these poor people or this poor community. And the way that we sometimes talk and express that sentiment of, oh, these people who seem to have nothing. Talking about supporting locally led recovery efforts. One of the things that we value not only in international but also with Puerto Rico is that the people in Puerto Rico know what they need to do and know how to help themselves and know how to attend to the needs. And uh, although we welcome expertise and knowledge, we really value people and groups that support the locally led efforts in the island, the locally led entrepreneurs, the people who know how to do things and want to be able to have some agency in the work that they do and in the relationships that they create. I think important for any congregation, any community, any person in the United States that truly wants to help Puerto Rico is advocating for policies that respect Puerto Rico's self-determination and that recognizes that who we are as a people and who we are as a community and the not only what we receive but also what we provide and our participation in this relationship as in with the United States and in this case of Presbyterian as part of the Presbyterian Church. We have to understand Puerto Rico is the only Hispanic Latino synod in the Presbyterian Church, completely Hispanic Latino. And we actually were there recently. I think I saw Rosa Miranda connect in the chat in the conversation. We were there by invitation with Rosa Miranda in the reimagining a wonderful, beautiful, great event. I have to applaud because we had over 90 people in this event for 3 days, participating, engaged, wanting to learn, wanting to participate, wanting to absorb, but also share their knowledge. And it was amazing to hear not only the participation, but the results of what we have seen from that and recognizing that the people in Puerto Rico are part of this church, are part of our denomination, not because we asked for it. It was imposed of us, of course, because it came part of the presence of the United States with the United States government and military, the church also came to Puerto Rico. And there's an interesting map about Puerto Rico being cut as a cake, and divided. And here goes the Presbyterians, and here are the Methodists, and here are the Lutherans. And you can still see traces of that in the island, where you see more presence of Methodists in the east of Puerto Rico, and the disciples in the north, and then most of the 78 Presbyterian churches that we have in Puerto Rico, most of them are in the west of the island, because that was the area that was given to the Presbyterians. But we have, yeah, 70 plus churches in Puerto Rico, 3 presbyteries, a synod. So it's not like the U.S. goes there, or U.S. congregations go there to say, oh, here we are to save these poor people. No, many of the people in Puerto Rico uh, know the Bible, know what it's about, and love God, and are religious in many ways. The Presbyterian Church have a long-standing presence there. Even actually before the missionaries came to Puerto Rico, in Aguadilla, there was a group of people of biblicos learning about Protestant and Reformed church, even before the Protestant and U.S. churches started to come to Puerto Rico. So I think it's recognizing the history, learning and knowing. I think part of the relationship has to come with the recognition that we are here to learn, and we are here to have engaged in that learning process, and not come with the mentality that, oh, we are here to tell you what to do or how to do things.
Is that, I think you called it decolonizing recovery, is that right? Is
Volunteerism, decolonizing
volunteerism,
volunteerism. Yeah.
are there resources that we could share with folks that you have online
Yeah,
that,
we have a link.
I mean, we can do it after by
Yes.
follow-up email is fine.
We have a link to the doc, well, not necessary, but to stories that have been written by our wonderful people from communications about the event. And there's information about the training, and we have provided it in many places, and we are always welcome to provide it to churches, to groups, to schools. We have done it with many organizations, not only Presbyterians, but from other denominations who have requested it. And it's a way to engage in that conversation of how we want to serve, and how we want to impact communities by recognizing their own agency in the work that is being done.
And I have a question. I'm curious if you'd be willing to speak a little bit to the impact of current U.S. immigration ICE policies on Puerto Ricans in
Yes.
general, the impact.
Um, there's a phrase in Puerto Rico that says that if the U.S. gets a cold, we get pneumonia. So it means that anything that happens in the United States affects us sometimes even worse in Puerto Rico. And although and I mentioned at the beginning, I'm the result of a wonderful couple, one from Puerto Rico and one from Dominican Republic. And in many people in Puerto Rico have some connection with the Dominican Republic, either a friend or a family member is from Dominican Republic, because their connection between the two islands are so close. We're right next to each other. And people, and even our ancestors or Taínos, used to travel back and forth from one place to the other. So we have a big presence of, especially people from Dominican Republic in the island, including my mother who lives there. And add to that Haitians, Mexicans, Colombians. There's people from all over Puerto Rico, from all over the Latin America and other countries, and we have good relationship. The Puerto Rican by itself, people in Puerto Rico are hospitable. They like to welcome people. They like to establish good relationships. They like to show up their island and their love and solidarity. So and especially with Dominicans, we have communities that are largely made up of Dominican Republics, Dominicans, and people from other countries. And for a long time now, there was the fear about being arrested or taken by ICE or others. That was not there. I remember when I was a kid and growing up in, especially in Santurce. Santurce is the vast majority of people in Santurce are Dominicans. A lot of Dominicans from of course Dominican Republic, and immigrants or generations of immigrants live in Santurce. And I remember when I was a kid hearing, instead of ICE in that time was La Migra, and you will hear people screaming La Migra and people running to find safety. And actually my mother providing safety to people. And but I don't remember that when I was maybe 12, 14, 15, or 20 or something. That's my childhood memory of that. Uh, and now that's the new fear in Puerto Rico. And that's the fear that people have all over, I'm sorry, all over the that area, but specifically all over the island, of the arrest. We have people being arrested, being taken. Uh, some areas in Puerto Rico that where Dominicans go buy their groceries, their markets, the stores, or populated by Dominican community. They're in fear to go outside sometimes, to uh, congregate or be in groups. People fearing going to church in some places because of being arrested by ICE. So this situation that we have and we see here in Puerto Rico, sadly, is also a reality that people are facing. And the same situation with people who are being arrested, even with having their papers and having a process already started. They don't care. They arrest them in the spot. They're expecting that people will have their documents on with them everywhere they go. And if they don't, they get arrested, and weeks will pass before they can be free, or people, the situation can be resolved. So there's a lot of fear of what is happening in the United States, and the implications that is taken in the island in Puerto Rico.
Well, then I just have one last question to ask you before I open it up to everyone else. But I just want to know, since we were discussing Bad Bunny's performance last month, we just want to know what your reaction to his performance was, and if there's anything that you might think that may have been misunderstood by, mainland Americans. Yeah.
Oh, you mean the concert that was surrounded by a game? Is that
Yes, yes,
uh,
yes, a game that
there
people
was
may
some
or
type
may
of
not
game
have
where
watched.
yeah, while there was a concert. No, that's
Yeah,
that's the
yeah.
joke that Puerto Ricans had all over the oh, there's a concert of Bad Bunny, and there's a game or somehow. We watched it. We had a wonderful community of Puerto Ricans here in Louisville, and we all came to my house to watch it, and it was so exciting. I think all of us were at the end crying, uh, because not only of what we were seeing, not only listening to something in Spanish, in such an amazing and wonderful place as for the United States, that's the center of everything, the Super Bowl that day, and to have a person speaking and singing in Spanish for us was something incredible. And part of it, and I wrote this on Facebook. I posted. There's a joke between Latinos and even I have heard it from people in the United States. Oh, Puerto Ricans, you will know who they are because they always have a flag of Puerto Rico. Either a sticker or a shirt or a hat. They wear the Puerto Rican flag anywhere, everywhere, really proud. And that has a reason. And it's because we were prohibited for a long while to even show up our flag. And I actually have it right here. I have it with me. And we were not allowed to have it. We were not allowed to 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 talk about independence. We were persecuted because of that. So to see the flag of Puerto Rico there, to see those symbols of our island, being shown there was for us one of the most exciting moments in Puerto Rico history. Uh, to think about a country that a few years ago was completely devastated by a hurricane and that is still facing many of the issues and the aftermath of that, to see them in that stage being represented. But no, I think one of the beautiful things is that among the many things that were shown was also we were able to see that sense of solidarity and that Puerto Rican recognize that we're Puerto Ricans, but we're part of a group of people called Latinos and Hispanics, and we wanted and Bad Bunny, by showcasing that with the flags, with some of the symbols there, it's not it's a conjoined history, it's a conjoined relationship with many places, and it's not difficult to for people from other places to see some of the images and say, oh, that happens in my country too. You know, to see a kid sleeping on the chair, any quinceañero, any big celebration, you will have kids sleeping in the chair because they're waiting for the parents to finish dancing that or the celebration. That we didn't have niñeras. We had you come to us with us to every event we have. To see him fall from that roof, for me, it reminded we still have thousands of roofs in Puerto Rico that were destroyed by Hurricane Maria, and they're still in need of fixing. One of our greatest partners in Puerto Rico, Techos Pa Mi Gente, who does an amazing work, they're still fixing roofs and houses of people whose homes were destroyed by the hurricane. So to see that image, there was so many things that still people are looking at the video and realizing, oh, that's a symbol of this. That reminds us to see the power lines of what has happened in the island with with Luma and the abuse that we face in Puerto Rico. You know, while we were there, there was a loss of electricity. It's not uncommon that things will have to stop because oh, the electricity is gone, and now we have to wait. In an island that has received from FEMA, not as a gift, because we also pay taxes, has received billions of dollars for that infrastructure, but it's being sent to someone's pocket because you don't see it in the island. You see a lot of needs in that sense. So there were so many things in that halftime show that were presented that I think it reminds us that we're here. We're part of the United States. We're part of this country. Not only us, but us as Latinos and Hispanics.
Thanks so much. So I want to open it now to any questions or comments that the rest of you may have. So if you want to raise your virtual hand, um, it can call on you and you'll be able to unmute. Rosa?
And and I would like to add to what Edwin has shared that so many contributions from our siblings in from Puerto Rico in our denomination as well, serving with faithfulness.
Uh-oh. Oh,
We also need to celebrate that.
Amen. Amen to that. Thank you, Rosa. Yes, the presence and the participation and the collaboration and contribution of Puerto Ricans in our denomination has been vastly. From having Vilmarie Cintron Olivieri, the first Hispanic Latino moderator of the General Assembly, a Puerto Rican, that was for us important and wonderful moment. To books, to writers, to professors, to preachers, to pastors, to leaders, the contribution is vastly all over, from employees from this office, from General Assembly in different places and in different ways. Our contribution is not just locally, but we get to share our knowledge and our history and our theology with others in the United States and with our siblings from other Latino and Hispanic communities.
Wendy?
Okay, sorry. Thanks. You mentioned, Edwin, you mentioned advocacy. So since that's something that I work with, I want to know what particularly I mean, I know you're one person, but advocacy, what would be the things to advocate for? I mean, are there certain policies? Would you like to be released as being being a territory? Would you like to be a state? I mean, there's I know, and that's probably got all kinds of answers, but so I'm just trying to figure out what is the right thing to be advocating for.
So I think that shouldn't be a decision of the United States. That should be a decision from Puerto Rico, and from Puerto Ricans in a correct way. I think, and I say that because I think there has been many incorrect ways of trying to hear from the people in Puerto Rico, and actually Congress has ignored all of them, even the incorrect ways. It's not a matter of if we want to be a state or not, or we want to free. Sadly, it's a decision that the United States and Congress will have to make. I think when we talk about advocacy, is a just and truthful participation in the table. We always talk about if you're not in the table, you're part of the menu, and that's how we have felt. We're not part of the table. Although our governor will take all the pictures she wants and attend all the events she wants, we're not considered equals. And you can see that in the way we're treated, in the way that we're spoken about in many places. Recently, with this whole Bad Bunny, just to hear people say, "Oh, we need an American." Well, we are Americans since 1917. We are citizens, of course, second-class citizens, but we are citizens of the United States. And so part of that advocacy is being able to correct and share about their history, but also to be able to ask Congress for a just and fairly treatment of the people in Puerto Rico. That whole issue with tax without representation, the Jones Act, the fiscal PROMESA, the way that the United States decides on not only on our government, but also how we spend the money, how much of a colony we continue to be in every way that we are treated. Recently, with the whole situation of war in Venezuela, you can see the use of our island for military practice again, and that's not uncommon for Puerto Rico. We had at a moment one of the biggest presence of military of U.S. military bases in Puerto Rico by a square mile, and the damage that made to our reserves, to our island, to our beaches, to our tourists, to everything in Puerto Rico, and how easily it has come back. We fought for many years to get rid of the U.S. Navy in Vieques, for example, and now recently they came back to different places and they are practicing in Puerto Rico. I drove when we were there with Rosa. We drove around Aguadilla, where there's used to be a military base called Remy, and you can see the drones that they have used, and you can see the military presence there. And this is they're there because they decided we need this is our island, we use it however we want. But also with the way that Puerto Ricans do not get a chance to say this is what we not want and this is what needs to happen. That sense of lack of agency, we need to advocate for more, not only voice but more power from the people in the island.
Brian?
Quiero decir, gracias, Edwin. Muchas gracias por venir hoy día, hermano.
Thank you, Brian. Gracias.
Edwin, brother in Christ, in Yeshua. I share this with you because my first language is Spanish. My mother's from Peru. Most of the people know this as well. And I was born here in California. So father was migrated from Canada, English Canadian. But my family is definitely Yeshua, but my culture is also native. And when I think of ways of support in this group, some people know it is through economics. You mentioned about taxation without representation. That was the founding of this country. Well, the way to support is support these artists. You can also check out subtitles if you don't understand Spanish. What was Bad Bunny singing about? It's being questioned by certain people. Was he really singing whatever, pro-America? And I think it's just a matter of investigating and studying that for ourselves to know what he was thinking about. And you share some things that I didn't even know still. And I just want to say thank you. And that's how I handle things through economics and entering the market and creating our own table and inviting people in to what we know. Because again, that's how these things did, is the supper and things are over the hospitality. So we can create our own table. It's amazing. And also we need to know that Columbus arrived to your territory of Puerto Rico as a country first. And that was why it became the entrance way to the rest of the continent. And I think that needs to be recognized as well, because Taino Arawak is a strong culture that exists in all of us. And we're all indigenous. I say that because we came from a place below the cement or the chairs that we're sitting on today. And we all go to the same source. And I know, but I would like to say back in the day, I was in a youth group with American Indian youth, and one was Taino, and he would also say, I'm Taino Arawak. But and he'd say, kill a cracker. And I said, yeah, I know you're only 15, but calm it down a little bit. You don't want to say that to everybody. We got to be able to use the right words. And he says, well, you know what I mean? I said, I know what you mean, but a lot of people don't. So come with a little education of why you're saying that. I know you're angry and upset, but we're here to represent in a nice way with our music. So make some friends, and it was a little better thing for him. Now he's in Canada doing the struggle as best he can from there. He's off the grid. I wish I knew where he was, but he shows up from New York to Canada because we migrate. We do what we do. So thanks to Eileen, I'll contact with you. I have someone in Kentucky who I'd like you to meet. Another sister from another mister. She's dealing with child trafficking, and also she has her own little company. She came from California to Kentucky.
It would be nice. Thank you, Brian. That would be really good.
So I'm going to let Valerie ask the last question, and I know some of you might need to hop off, but I want to add in the chat that we have our Centering Partners Voices. We have our first gathering of the year is next Tuesday. It's on divesting from mining, and we'll be hearing from the network of churches working on mining. So you all should check that out if you're not already registered. And Valerie, I don't know where you went.
I'm here, Eileen.
Okay, hold on. Let me spotlight you.
Oh, thanks a lot, Edwin. I just really want to say thank you. Thank you for taking the time. Your voice carries a lot. I have traveled with you. We have had these conversations a lot, and I learned a lot today. So really, thank you so much for taking the time. When we put together this space that we have here, it was really to look at our own complicity, if I can say like that, as a church. Looking at the doctrine of discovery, the Spanish came, took over your country, your island, after the war, passed it on to the US. And the legacy of it, hundreds of years after, is still being like in limbo. Who are we really? Where are we coming from? I just wanted to thank you and affirm two things that you said that for me, I hear almost everywhere as we work and travel around the world. One, you talked about the image of the colonial cake that was being, as Puerto Rico being like chopped as a cake. And the second image that you talked about is also how churches followed that colonial division. I hear that a lot, and I feel like we need to have more conversations about that. In almost every country, you will hear about the Baptists, were given the North, the Presbyterians stay in the South, how the church also kind of found
Valerie, your connection's breaking up. Uh-oh, you're breaking. Okay, you're back, I think, but no sound.
line to what was drawn by I just needed to affirm that. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
Now, yeah.
Okay, sorry about that. It was good the whole call until the last minute.
You were saying something brilliant. That's what.
So I just wanted to say that I feel like that's a conversation that we need to have inside as churches more. Also, just how we followed those colonial lines, how the way we settled ourselves in a lot of cultures, how it was shaped by the colonial system that was there before. Like hearing you mention that reminded me that I hear about that all around the world, everywhere we do travel and do work. And again, this space was meant to have these kind of discussions also in a very open, vulnerable way, recognizing that so as churches also we can do our work, recognizing our history. So I just wanted to thank you a lot for
Thank you.
the
I
time.
appreciate that, and I know it comes from not only the experience but also the conversations that we had, like you mentioned, and how much we are connected in so many ways. All countries who have been colonized and by other empires. And it's true. Yeah, Puerto Rico suffer from, there like in any other case, there's good things and there's bad things. From the President of the United States and of course from the Presbyterian Church and our Protestant Church. But there's people like to share about the good things, but and cover and try to put away the truth about also how harmful those relations have been and how one-sided those relationships have been. Puerto Rico, people do not know. The benefit of using a birth control in the United States is because in 1950 they did experiments oral contraceptive in Puerto Rico without telling the woman in Puerto Rico, taking advantage of with large clinical trials, using the people in Puerto Rico as guinea pigs for that. So you had a high population of suffering from the results of that. Mass sterilization policies from the 1930s to the 70s in Puerto Rico because of La Operación and the fear of people reproducing in Puerto Rico. Pharmaceuticals, making testing in Puerto Rico and receiving tax incentives from that. The U.S. military presence in Puerto Rico, even and things that people even do not know. We had a Puerto Rican, a Presbyterian church had a hospital in Puerto Rico, Ashford Presbyterian Hospital. It still has that name, and it's in San Juan, Puerto Rico. It was named because of Dr. Charles Ashford. It was established by the Presbyterian Church, and it was a school of tropical medicine in Puerto Rico. And two interesting facts, really sad facts about that hospital. One, there's a posting in about recruitment, and they were recruiting nurses to study and to be taught. And the first requirement was that you needed to be white. In Puerto Rico, you were asking people, you needed to be white in order to become a nurse in your island. And the second less fact about Puerto Rico and actually that hospital, and if people might want to learn more about this, there was a doctor there called his name Cornelius Rhodes, and he was an American physician and also a pathologist. And the controversy was that he wrote letters talking about how the island was beautiful, but the people needed to get they needed to be get rid of, and they're their dirtiest, laziest, and most degenerate, thievish race. That's how he talked about Puerto Rico, and he joked about doing testing with cancer cells with Puerto Rican patients and actually killing people from Puerto Rico. And he was after that controversy, he was removed from the hospital. He became in the member of the U.S. Army and started doing chemical warfare and cancer research with the Black communities. He became director of the Memorial Sloan Kettering's Cancer Center, and there was actually a prize given on behalf of recognizing him until Puerto Ricans started talking and saying, "Hey, this person did this. Do you know his history?" So there's a lot of unknown history about what has happened and the effects of this relationship in the island and how we have paid the price of that. So thank you.
Wow, I just want to say thanks, Edwin, and I think that what we're learning is that really we need to look to Puerto Ricans for the advocacy that we need to do in the future, but also clearly there is a lot of that cultural work. The Coalition to Dismantle the Doctrine of Discovery, they really emphasize the both and the advocacy work and the cultural work. Clearly, there's a lot of work that we need to do in mainline US to grow in our understanding of the system that's at work and realities faced in Puerto Rico by our oppressive systems and structures. So and to also to like grow in that understanding and appreciation of the rich Puerto Rican culture. Anyway, I thank you so much, and I thanks to all of you who joined us today. And I'll be sending out a follow-up email with a link to the recording that folks can share with people who weren't able to join live. And you can also rewatch to catch those gems that Edwin shared with us, the great quotes from Puerto Rico that you shared. One of them that I won't forget is that if the United States gets a cold, Puerto Rico gets pneumonia. That's pretty striking quote. But you all have a great day and take care. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity and always welcome to be part of these conversations.
Yeah, thanks, Edwin.